that's on our Facebook that's just now kicking in and telling me that, hey, y'all jumped in the middle of it, I got it for you again. I'm going to share this for you
All right, let's
again.
go.
Yes, let me go ahead and give it to them again.
Dear Dub, get ready for the largest track and field event in the South. It's the fourth annual HBCU Jet Relay Soul Festival. Saturday, March 12th. All lanes lead to Humphrey Tiger Stadium in Lancaster, Texas. Come see Prairie View, Bramlett, Southern, Langston, Jarvis Christian, Texas Southern, Philander Smith, Houston Tillison, and more. Out of the lanes at Tiger Stadium. Oh yeah, and we can't forget about the Lit Fest featuring the band and dance team showcase. Hosted by Peace and a special bandstand performance by the Jarvis Christian College Sophisticated Sounds of Soul. Oh, and don't stop the news fest. A special guest performer tribute to Dallas' own Yarborough and people. Calling all HBCU alumni, groups, and surrounding communities. Going it for the culture. Come out and experience great music, great food, a college health and career fair, and more. All hosted by comedian D. Ellis. Sponsored by TBMG, UBC, Hallmark, Doc Bookshop, The Prep Factory, GTMS, Crash McDonald's Restaurant, and Humana. JetRelays.com.
Oh yeah, you guys, I am back. I am Danya Craddock, the co-owner of the Doc Bookshop. Thank you for coming in and tuning in to the Doc Bookshop Live. The Doc Bookshop is one of the largest African American owned full service bookstores in Texas and the Southwest. We opened in 2008. Our mission is to inspire, inform, and entertain our customers through books and book related events. Right now, we're not in store, you guys. We're still virtual, but that's okay. We are coming in store. But also, the Doc also sells audiobooks, ebooks, greeting cards, music, coffee, tea, beverages, novelty, gift items, personal care, home care. The Doc Bookshop is 4,000 square feet with a designated area to hold book signings and media. And you guys, we are going to come back. But without further ado, I have a very special. It is Black History Month, and you guys, you seen that hot commercial? That commercial is out of sight. Oh my God, I am so excited about Jet Relays coming up March 12th, you guys. And to kick it off, I said we got to do a tribute to the athletes that are participate in Jet Relays. And you know what? I couldn't do this without engaging one of the most historic groups in the Fort Worth area. And I am about to bring her up. And that is no other than KEISHA BRAZIEL. Oh, okay, I brought both of y'all.
You're so funny,
I'm,
Danya.
I'm
You
so
are
crazy,
funny.
but for real.
I
But
love it. I love it.
I mess it up, y'all. You know, I try to do what I can do with this technology. When you are a business owner, you doing all kind of stuff. But
Right.
Keisha Brazil in that kente cloth, that hair wrap, she is so beautiful each and every
Oh,
time. Just
thank
got a
you.
lot of energy. This young lady is all over the Metroplex. This is a political season, so she taking time out from her track club, from her politics, to be on the Doc Bookshop Live and help us talk about athletes beyond the win. I am losing my voice, but hey, Keisha, how you doing?
I'm great. Hey, everybody. And I'm excited to be there. And kudos to you and what you guys do with the bookshop. I mean, y'all been on the reel and you interviewed Alicia Keys. I want your life to be honest. Uh, but but I see that the jet relays is like just like something in addition to what we do as a people. If you don't invite us to the dance, we create our own, and that was the what jet relays is actually in light of or because of another relays that's held by a University of Texas that kind of navigates this way of not allowing a lot of HBCUs in. And so this is our answer. If you don't want us at the table, we'll make our own. And so Jet Relays is kind of, we made our own table for HBCUs to be able to compete and also for our people to see our people on the track. So I'm very excited about being here and being a part of this.
And every year I say to Keisha, I said, I am going to find that one book that just wraps everything together because I just want to do something, because I am a bookstore. And, I want to tie the knot with the Hallmark track clubs and jet relays. And to me, this book that we're about to bring to the forefront, Athletes Beyond a Win, and the Jim Hines story. right here,
Yes.
Jim Hines, if y'all can see it, we have our author here with us today, A.D. Emerson, that helped put these collections together of all these different athletes. She has her own publishing company, and she has experience with UCLA. She's a alumni of UCLA's. Welcome to our platform, Mrs. A.D. Emerson. Welcome to the Doc Bookshop Live.
I'm so excited. I feel like running right now. All the energy, all the great things that that both of you are doing to spread the word, and encourage people to really step outside of themselves. To me, it's great when we read. We have knowledge. We're
Mhm.
excited. We're connected as a community, and I just think this is really, really exciting. For me to take one step around the track and connect with you all.
And before, we was going to have Jim Hines on here, but he's going to come with us later on down the road. But, he has his book, In Hindsight, The Sprinter in a Time. This is his memoir. And he is the first man to break the 100-meter barrier, running under 10 seconds at the 1968 Olympic Games in Mexico City, Mexico. And I see him in action, and he could talk some stuff, but he is not here.
Can he really?
And you tell him I'm talking about him not being here, but we'd definitely love to have a conversation with him later. But I am going to take a backdrop because you guys are ladies in the sport. Y'all know the sport. Y'all know the history. I am going to go ahead and let y'all dialogue about the book In Hindsight, and Athletes Beyond the Wind. And just a little housekeeping. You guys feel free to put anything in the chat, which if you like something, if you hear something you like, just put it in the chat. And if you want to know more about the book, we do have that green button at the bottom, which goes directly to the book page. You could definitely go to the book page, and if you want to ask a question, you can ask a question. I may, throughout the chat, go ahead and do a poll for everybody, so just continue to pay attention to the polls. You'll see a one out there if I put a poll out there. And again, I want to thank everybody that's listening here on the Doc Bookshop. You guys, I got a slight cold. Black History Month has kicked my butt. I've been speaking all month long. Okay, you guys. So I ain't got no COVID and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Still, I'm a crying and all those different things. I ain't got all that. But what I am saying, I have been busy in the field of working for Black History Month to bring all the information to the forefront. But so again, I do truly appreciate everybody that's taking time out today to listen to this very important conversation. And I will mute myself and turn it over.
Or we're going to talk about In Hindsight first and then Beyond the Wind, or which way, or how we're doing it.
Whatever you'd like to do.
Well, since in honor of Mr. Hines, who is not here, but my father actually, just a little background. Hallmark Track Club. It was started by my parents, my mother and father. And this year we'll be celebrating 35 years of service to the community, where we train athletes from the ages of 4 to 18, boys and girls, in every event that USA Track and Field offers on the youth division. We've been national champions, have over 600 All-Americans. We have lawyers, NFL players. We have a little bit of everything, doctors that have come through the program. But the thing I liked about so when I asked my daddy, I was like, "Do you remember Jim Hines?" He was like, "Yes." And I said, "Well, I'm gonna be talking to him today," and he had to go somewhere, so he couldn't attend. But he was like, "Ask him about this person and ask him about this person." So I had this long list of stuff.
I may be able to answer.
To ask him, because I did read the books. I said, "Danya, you got to give me some books. Don't have me come on somebody's show and I haven't read the books." So
Okay.
I did read the books, but I would want to say the thing about track. And we can go about that. But the thing about track and field, because I'm an athlete as well, I ran track from 9 to 23. I'm a junior Olympic champion, All-American, all of that. Went to TCU. And so track was my thing. I knew I was going to be the next Gail Divas, the next Flo, the next Wilma Rudolph, Quinn Torrance. I was going to be the next somebody. Yes.
Yeah.
So, but track is such a natural sport. I tell people it doesn't get its due because it's not as glamorous and it's not as often as football or baseball or any of those sports. But every sport, you have to run.
No.
Every foundation to every sport, you have to run. They time
Yes.
you. If you
Yep.
go to the NFL, they time you in the 40. And if you
Yep.
think you are cold-blooded, run a slow 40 and see how fast your stock go down because you are slow. They don't want slow
Exactly.
people in these sports. So
Yeah.
the basis of every sport, and it's natural, even even with the doping instances, track is, there's no football, there's no basketball, there's no tennis racket. It's just me and you and in
Yep.
the lane,
And the
and we
element.
line it up.
Yep.
And we line it up. That's it. And so in his book, I just know that even Usain Bolt, most track athletes are very cocky, because I think a lot of that is you have to defend your sport, and then you have to talk yourself into dying every practice. So you really have to kill yourself to get on the track and compete with these other people that have killed themselves.
Yes.
So I enjoyed his book because it did show that he did show appreciation of how he started, the struggle he had in Arkansas, but the thing that was always consistent was his track and his track accomplishments. You know, what in track wise was great. And so I wanted to know, and I'm gonna ask you, because I wanted to know from him, what made you decide to do a memoir after all of this time? So I wanted to know from you, what made you decide to say, well, I'm finna take these track athletes and go through history, because I see you started at the beginning and went through history. What in your head say, I'm going to write this book and honor them?
Yeah, so I ran track also for 33 years, and I always was very focused on not his story, but history.
Correct.
And all of the people that made it possible for you and me to be able to run around the world and make teams and go in the front door as opposed to the back door. All the aspects that I felt that people did not know. I wanted to find out more and more and more about it. And so for me, it was, the historical journey of how did we get from point A to where we are now? And that's what really motivated me and my team to write the stories and to find out not only what they did with athletics, but what they did off the track that has kept them on track. I mean, the history, the Athletes Beyond the Wind is how I met Jim HINES. We wrote the book. He heard about it. There's 66 Black men who not only, as you said, ran, but they jumped. They, represented political moments in history for the U.S. on a world stage when they weren't treated fairly in their own country. They still had pride and dignity and put all that aside to go out there and show that they were the best. So for me, it was just really an honor to be able to hear their stories, read about them, and then to put the stories out there so that people could get a glimpse, a reflection of the lives of these great men that were doctors, lawyers, colonels in the military. They were Tuskegee Airmen. One gentleman is responsible for the defogging of airplanes and had 69 patents and the incinerator. So just great men who lived through challenging times that really put it all out there for the world to see that their skills and abilities can supersede circumstances. And to me, that's what it was all about, So it was really an
real
honor.
overcomers. I tell my students, like I said, I'm a teacher, and I always tell my students, you are better than you think you are. You are the people that survived the coming from Africa through the Middle Passage, through slavery, through civil rights movements, through your generation of people survived all of that. So you have survival in you. You just need to utilize your gifts, because what race of people have gone through what we've gone through and still here in multitudes. And so we are made from a certain stuff that, you may count me out, but I'm going to show you why you shouldn't. And so I thought that was interesting about a lot, especially because the Olympics is such on a world stage. It's not just United States, like NFL and all of those are pretty much concentrated to the United States. But the Olympics is this is everybody in the world. This is the best in the world.
This is the best of the world. And so
the world.
Jim,
And here we are in United States where we're treated like second-class citizens, but we still got up, performed, and outperformed everybody else all over the world in the track and field events.
No doubt. No doubt. There's no limit, to the capacity of what we can do. And so that's what really was the motivation. I've been honored and blessed to be around some, great athletes who took the human element to a whole nother level.
Yes.
And I just love the dignity. And I thought this is a time where there's so many things politically that are going on in the world and in the U.S. specifically that are affecting Black men.
Yes.
And I wanted to showcase Black men who stood for something, didn't fall for anything. And, their legacy lives on. And if the younger generation doesn't know who they are,
right,
they will never unless we write about
Correct.
it. And so that's why we put it up.
Their stories have to be told, because as you see right now where we're having this attack on really telling history, real history, where it's being attacked. And so we have to do a good job of not only protecting it, but also telling it. Because if we don't do effective job of telling it, then they'll tell it for us. And we already know that they're not going to be factual. So we need to make sure that these stories are continually told. So these types of books like In Hindsight and Beyond the Wind are important to our history because it documents us. We have to be careful and strategic of making sure we leave footprints for the generation behind us, so they'll never know. They will be strategic in making sure that they never know. They're literally banning books, because they don't want our story to be told. We have to be, in the words of James Brown, say it loud, I'm back and I'm proud, and make sure that our stories are told in that sense. How long did it take you to gather all of these stories and put it together?
So the Athletes Beyond the Wind book, we started right during the pandemic. We were at LA 84 Foundation, which is going to be hosting the 2028 Olympics. So we were actually in the facility, and then we got the notice of COVID. But what surrounded us was Rayford Johnson. They had
I love Rayford.
Yeah, they had a huge tribute that had been up for 1 year. And so we wrote with him around us, and, he was very inspirational to me, going to UCLA and really encouraging all of us, around the world. But so it was really an honor for us to be able to write while he was there, in our presence.
That's the inspiration right there.
Yes, indeed. And so after we got the notice, we still had to, continue writing and going through getting pictures and all the different stuff. So the book came out December 2nd, which was the same day that Rayford Johnson passed away.
Yeah, I would say he recently passed away. I happened to meet him. Like I said, I've been running checks since I was 9. And back in the day, Hershey, the candy bar, hosted a youth program where they would fly you to Hershey, Pennsylvania for like 5 days, and we competed. And so I'm a Hershey champion, but Rayford Johnson, twice I went, was our ambassador for track. So he was the first decathlete, African-American decathlete, to compete in the Olympics, and we get a gold medal. So just to put that in reference to y'all who Rayford Johnson is. So we know him, of course, but just to kind of put in reference who he is, track wise, he was an outstanding decathlete during his time, but he does a whole lot of humanitarian work once he got out of that athletic realm. So he dedicated a lot of his time to that. And I just happened to be blessed to meet him.
Yeah, he was outstanding. And so so we pulled the book, to make sure that we put not only his birth, but his sunset, and just a great human being. He started Special Olympics in Southern California. And just like you said, he was a great humanitarian. And so what I found in doing the research with my teammates was that there are so many of these great men that shared that same vein. They really were excellent individuals. They overcame obstacles, but they pursued excellence in life. And so that transition from on the track to, the platforms that they lived, throughout their lives. So to me, that's what really was the motivation. We found that, there were 66 Black men from 1904 to 1968 that medaled. We had Ron Brown, who played for the Rams, and the Raiders. He wrote the foreword. He was a teammate of mine. And then Andre Phillips wrote the introduction. And the reason that we selected him is because he has kept in touch with the greatest Olympic team. This is what has been said, the 1968 team. And he's hosted them, done clinics with them. He also went to San Jose State. And so he's known them. And so they were the impetus for him to win a gold medal in the 88 Olympic Games. So it really was a culmination of love, a lot of work, but it took us about 5 months to write that book. And then Jim Hines' book, it took us a month.
Okay. Well, it was a good, I enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed it. And I remember even Andre Phillips, because the 400 meter hurdle event that he was in was loaded. It was a really loaded event. Because of course the favorite was Edwin Moses at the time. That was predicted to win the 400 meter hurdles, but those 13 steps in between those hurdles are very it has to be on point or it's not going to work, and so you can get so it's anybody's game when it comes to hurdles. In fact,
yes,
I saw that, and back before Texas has tooted its own horn, is producing a whole lot of track athletes. California was the hotbed. No, everybody went to California to train if they were in the Olympics, and that's all the way up to Carl Lewis and the Santa Monica Track Club, and California was the hotbed, and now Texas has stolen the crown.
Yes. You're right. You're right in the hut.
Because the weather is so hot. They always say, "Oh, it's so hot down here. Y'all can't do nothing but run fast because your blood is thinner." It's so hot here. But I actually went to the 88 Olympics because there's also used to be an Arco Jesse Owens games where they did the same type of thing for Hershey, and I went there too, and went to nationals there, and it was the same. The year I went was the same year they had the LA Olympics, so they let us go to the Olympics. All of the athletes go to Olympics, so track has really opened a lot of doors for me. But I give homage to all of these people that those opportunities were afforded because of the sacrifices that they made for us to be able to come through that door, because they won all of this stuff in the Olympics and they would come back and still be treated like second-class citizens, couldn't get a job. Jesse Owens has gone on record to say that he would have even received anything, any type of congratulations from the president at the time, I think was Roosevelt. He never even said thank you or congratulations on your win. And he just made Hitler look shameful on behalf of your country. And he had to go as far as racing horses to get money to put on his table. So a long way in the sport where it's paved the way where people actually receive money and funds and sponsorships and all of that, where they're able to, it could be a living like any other professional sport that people play.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
So do you have anything else coming up in the works? Like, what's your next book?
So we were able to not only write Jim Hines' story, which is really, I encourage everyone to truly read, his story, because the things he endured just to become, the greatest human being is amazing. And, two tidbits I'll just say before the next projects and all that is that, he really ran 9.89.
Right. And he actually ran yards. So now they compete them in meters, like they measure them in meters. But yes, they did, but they said that they adjusted it for wind and the photo finish. And
so it was the first Olympic Games it was the first Olympic Games that they ever used Omega timing, the timing devices that we use now. Correct. And so no one had ever run that fast. And so that was one thing, and it took them 19 minutes to give him his time. So,
Right.
that was one thing. The other thing too is they pulled his teeth on purpose,
Right.
To prevent him from going to the Olympics, and he ended up having to fly with the archery and equestrian team after having his mouth impacted. And so to be able to go there, win a gold medal. Yeah, and then the relay, there's pictures where he received the baton in 5th place.
Right.
And ran them down to win a gold in the 4x100.
Right.
It's a shows strength and fortitude and determined spirit. And that to me resonates with us as a people. I think that's really very, very important, to bring forward.
And I like that about Hines' book too, that of course, reading the book, you know that he's a godly man. He referenced that a lot. And I am a believer. I'm a preacher's kid, so I'm a believer. And words have power. And so I took away from the book that the Bible says life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so he would say that he would say these things before he ran, and say these things before he ran. But I mean, even if you're not biblical, they always say, so a man says, so he thinks. So is he. So your tongue and your mind is connected. And I know in reading the story about Michael Jordan, he always said in his mind he's already played the game. And in Hines' book, he kept saying, I would outrun the race in my mind. And I said, you think you're the only person that do that, but I would do the same thing. I would say, I just do this at the start. I got to do, you run the race in your mind. You already see it. You already speak it. And so it becomes so. And the fact that his mother kept telling him that he was special. And I just kept getting that theme through the Hines' book, is that words have power. What you tell your children, they believe it and they receive it in their hearts. And that's what they live and believe. But God created us in the womb. So in the womb, she knew what he was going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I will tell you, since you referenced the womb, he was the 9th child.
Correct.
He ran 9.9.
Right.
When you look on his bib at the U.S. Olympics,
I saw that.
It adds up to 9.9.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is truly, like she said, it was ordained.
Right.
He's a great example, for all of us. And so that's to me, it's an honor for me and my team to be able to write their stories. And then we also were privileged to assist Reynaldo Brown, who was the youngest member of the 1968 Olympic team. He was a high jumper, and his book is titled "How I Got Over."
Oh, how cool!
And so he's the original straight out of Compton, because that's where he grew up.
Okay.
So it's not like the movie, but so we were able to to talk about the level of commitment that he had to Olympic spirit. He wanted to just place 5th in the Olympic Games. He wanted to be on the team. They still to this day are brothers. They have they connect with each other. They do Zooms. It's just amazing to me that camaraderie definitely exists. So really excited about that. And I also, helped Mal Whitfield, who, passed away. He was a Tuskegee Airman, still on active duty during World War II. And, what's unique too about him is he was the first Black ambassador to Africa for the U.S. for 5 presidents, from Truman to Bush Sr. So there's some great elements that as I said in the beginning, that took place prior to them stepping on the track and continued as they stepped off. And so that's the lesson that, I want to resonate. And some people ask me, well, what about the women? So I wrote a book in 2000 about women. It's called Olympians Against the Wind.
Okay.
And it's about women who medaled in the Olympics. The first time they allowed Black women to be in Olympic Games was 1932. There were 2 of us. And 1948, after 2 wars, after the war, I should say World War II, the team and landscape of complexion changed, and there were only 3 or 4 that were not Black.
Or non-Black.
That were not Black.
Non-persons of color.
Yes. We were, so times changed, but
Yes.
I really wanted to capture, the essence of Black women. So I've written about Black women, Black men. I have a book that's coming out about a boxer, we're working on. And we also, have children's stories. So it's really to give the complexion of diversity
Correct.
and cultural inclusion
Right.
in the front of bookstores, in the front of individuals' minds, so that, as we tell the stories, some of it, even the people listening today, it may resonate,
Right.
with them. And our parents will be able to say, oh, I remember. And I would love for the generation now to
Right.
say, oh, they did this,
Right.
and so on and so forth. So,
Yeah, we're leaving footprints. We have to leave
yeah,
footprints. We have to leave stuff behind so that they know who they are.
yeah,
You have to identify with that. That struggle that's going to be, but we can overcome those obstacles. Oh, that's just these people. And I tell my students, your obstacles are minor. This
yeah.
is really not an obstacle. You're making it bigger than what it is. But people have open. I mean, your playing field is a whole lot easier. Your path is a lot easier because somebody made their way flatter. Somebody smoothed that for you.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
wouldn't have to go through those same barriers and those same potholes and pitfalls. Somebody smoothed that for you. So you have to
yeah.
continue to smooth it too and not create more of them.
Yes, no,
Own,
yeah,
dig your own stuff out. So you have to make that. Somebody paid for that. Somebody paid for that.
yeah,
Blood, sweat, and tears. And so that's amazing to me. And that just tells us how great we really are. Because as
um,
much as you try to keep us down, we just use it as an opportunity to show you that you can. And
yeah,
I love that. So I got to get the women's book now. I read
yeah,
the men, but I got to show my sister some love because, like
yeah,
I said, I felt it. I'm like uh, Mr. Hines, where I started watching the Olympics very young. I grew up in a very heavily sports family. I have a lot of professional athletes in my family, so sports was always a thing, but it was never pushed on girls primarily. So I was probably other than my aunt, I was the first girl that participated in sports and excelled at it. So it was a big thing. So I just knew when the first time I saw uh,
Wilma Rudolph.
Evelyn Ashford
Oh
was
yeah, she recruited me to UCLA. So
Evelyn Ashford was it
yeah,
for me. I loved Evelyn Ashford, and that's what I was going to do. And then once I did, because I'm a history buff myself, meet Evelyn Ashford. So now I want to go back and see what people did prior. Like what was the
oh
other women? And that's when I got into Wilma Rudolph and
yeah,
everybody from Tennessee, the Tennessee Tiger Bells and
yeah,
all of that, all of the people that they put out.
yeah,
But that's when I went back in history. But those things trigger you to go back and see what people did before you to
yes,
come, and so I think that what you're doing is necessary and needed at this moment, at this time, and in
yeah,
this space.
yes,
There's an all-out arsenal attack on who we are.
no doubt,
We
and it's
want to
been
erase
historical.
everything here.
Yeah, a lot of people, think this is new under the sun. It is not. And so, myself and my business partners, Richard Hanner, we decided that it was important for us, as I said, not to just rely on his story, whoever
Right,
the his may be.
right,
We wanted to put history in the forefront, and we want to ensure that it resonates, as an ongoing perspective, not just in February, but in March and
right.
so on and so forth. So we have some projects, the women's book, like I said, I wrote 22 years ago. We're bringing a calendar. We're bringing more books forward. We're, all landscapes because athletic prowess is very important,
Yes,
and it's important into, to our communities. And I had shared with a young man who um, heard about Jim Hines, and Jim Hines is still the fastest man in NFL history.
yes,
And a lot of people said, "Who is that?" They think it's Deion Sanders,
right, right.
and on and on and on. And so it's just those little tidbits and pearls of wisdom, I think that will continue to connect us,
Right,
maintain the global presence,
right,
that we share with sport. And it really, has opened the doors for a lot of dialogue and a lot of acceptance,
Right.
even though there were doors that have tried to keep us, from pushing them open. But to me, it's an honor. I really respect what you all are doing. I think it's really outstanding. And, I look forward to having Mr. Hines, engaged at the
Right.
jet
Because he sounds
relay.
like he talk a bunch of noise. So I like to talk to people that just talk a bunch of noise. So I can
Oh,
tell noise
well,
back.
be prepared. Be prepared. He told me two things. I will share this with you. He said, Arlise, what comes before one? I said, nothing.
Nothing.
Exactly. I was the first.
Yeah. Ain't no
And
other
the
one.
first.
Ain't nothing
Yeah,
on the other side of one.
exactly. He told me that.
Zero. That's what's on the other side of it. Zero.
Yeah. And he said, he's the greatest. He is the GOAT. He
Yes.
is
Yeah.
the GOAT. And so there were people, that he had to set the standard for people to
Right.
follow. And so
Yeah.
that's why, we still have his breath. He's 75 years old. He
Oh,
still
okay.
has a lot of energy. He wants to dance with 100 women for his 100 meters.
Oh
He's
Lord.
Oh
all that.
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
sure. I really got to talk to him.
Yeah.
Danya, you got to. I really got to talk to him.
Yeah.
He got to
So
stir
we'll
some
make
trouble
that.
up.
Yeah, we'll make that happen and coordinate. But I really, pay homage to you ladies for the stick to itiveness, for the capacity to persevere through any and all things that you've had to endure, the time that you put this together to give people an opportunity so that they can, learn more, engage more, connect more, really makes us stronger. And
It
so I
does.
just, encourage and celebrate you. And thank you so much. I know time is a precious commodity. I thank you for
But
yours.
we got
And
Q&A. We got some Q&A questions out
And
yeah,
then
here.
I want to say one more thing about Mr. Hines because being that we are the HBCU Jet Relays and we feature HBCUs, we have a college fair where we give on-site admissions and scholarships at the location for high school students, and we support Black businesses. So we have food vendors and regular vendors. So it's us on display, and so. I want to say about Mr. Hines that he graduated from Texas Southern University,
yes,
who
That
he
will
was
be
one
did.
of the
competing
questions.
who
Yeah.
will be competing
Yes,
at
I saw
the
that. I saw
HBCU
that.
Jet Relays.
He's and he'll talk about that. It's also in the book. One of the worst riots in the history of the U.S.
Right.
occurred at TSU,
Yes, you.
and so a lot of people have no idea. They think it was, the 1921 riots only, but that was one of the worst things they did to black men on that campus.
Well, they're not going to tell that. You see what they're doing now. They're going to try to get rid of everything that makes them look bad in reflection. So
Yeah,
they're not going to tell that. So that's why it's so important. I think that
yeah,
there's going to be a shift because our response to this shift of trying to erase us is now we're going to go overboard. That's what we do. We team too much. Black people is team too much. You give us one
yeah,
thing, we're going to take it to the 10th power. So then it's going to just flourish people like you to create our own. We write our own books. We create
yeah,
our own lanes. So we're
yeah,
not waiting for you anymore. So
yeah,
he a TSU Tiger.
yeah,
Now, so what happened with the riots for people out there that really don't know what happened with the TSU riots? And by the
yeah,
way, those that are listening, we are talking about Athletes Beyond the Wind, the book, and in hindsight, the story about Jim Hines. And we're at a segment that we're probably going to closing, but if you have some questions, I see it's a couple of questions out there. But my question is, what happened? For those that don't know, at the TSU riots, and what
yeah.
was Jim Hines' experience?
So there was some unrest that took place in downtown Houston. They blamed two of the black men that were in the dorms at TSU. They came to the campus, fired 5,000 rounds of ammunition.
It was
Um,
5,000. I've been telling people it was 1,000. It was 5,000.
That's what the
5,000
book.
rounds of
That's what the
Oh
book
ammunition.
my
said.
gosh. I was
And
thinking 1,000. Oh
they
my
were looking
gosh.
for Jim Hines. They called him the California Flash. 2 days before they came to that dorm where he was living, he had moved to the married dorm
Married to him.
because he got married and had a son. But they came and they said, where is that California in? And let's see if he could outrun a
On
bullet.
a bullet.
So, they couldn't find him, but that's why there's a picture in the book about all these black men laying on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
because they were trying to find out who had stolen something downtown Houston. And then what happened? One of the white officers was killed. So they said it was someone on campus, but it turned out not to be. So it was one of the worst riots in Houston. That, like I said, one of the worst riots in the country, that it happened on a black campus, and so that's what took place. And so Jim Hines survived that too.
That's God.
Yeah.
And we got a couple people out there that are watching that remember him so well. Ben Brown, shout out to Ben Brown. Thank you so much for saying how much he remembered Mr.
Mhm.
Hines out there. And another question, he's from Dumas, Arkansas. Can you
Mm-hmm.
tell a little bit about his experience? And he had some type of name out there in Dumas, Arkansas. Can you talk a little bit about his earliest beginnings? Yeah.
Yeah, so he was born in Dumas. He was the ninth child of 12.
Okay.
And he grew up playing baseball because that's where
Mm-hmm.
they had the
Right.
Negro League that ran through. And so his favorite, he really wanted to play
Willie
baseball.
Mays, he said he was
Willie
gonna be. He said
Mays,
he was gonna be the next Willie Mays.
that's right. And so, they were allowed, back in the time that he grew up, we really weren't allowed to go in the front door. We had to hide. We had all of these, underground type of activities in sports. And so, because Willie Mays was getting so much notoriety, he had heard about him and wanted to be like him. And so they also recognized that Jim Hines was able to run. He could catch all his brothers and sisters. He ran around the farm. He didn't want to be a farmer. He just wanted to get out. And so there were a couple of his relatives migrated to Oakland, California. And his family said, there was hard times on the farm. They were getting cheated out of their livelihoods. They were getting beaten, and their family decided we're going to move to Oakland. So he left Arkansas at the age of 6, moved to Oakland, and that's his second home. you know, and so that's where he was able to craft, cultivate his skills. But he actually got to go to high school and played on the baseball team, and the track coach was at the baseball game and saw him go all the way from left field to center and catch the ball. And they said, wait a minute, we need to have you on our track team.
Didn't I
The
say
same
every
thing.
sport started with somebody that could run?
Yes, yes, indeed. And that's exactly what Willie Mays did. He ran
Mhm.
the same things. It was as though he mimicked everything that Mays did. And because he, joined the track team, he left baseball, joined the track team. The rest is history.
Rest is history.
Okay, he was in the 1968 Olympics. Now, why do you think they don't talk as much about Jim Hines as they do about John Carlos and Tommy Smith?
Yep. So there's a good reason. So October the 14th, uh, Jim Hines, won the gold medal. In the I'm sorry, October 18th, he won the gold medal in the 100 meters. A day later, the protest occurred. So the focus shifted. It was the first time that the U.S. had acknowledged politics in an Olympic game. Not the first time that politics was in the Olympics, because
Right.
we all remember Jesse Owens in
Right.
Oh yeah.
1936.
Right.
But what happened, so that occurred, and right before the 68 Olympics, they were actually going to boycott the
Boycott.
athletes
Mm-hmm.
because 282 Mexican citizens were killed in front of the stadium for protesting that they did not have food. Some of the things we're protesting today. They didn't have food, shelter, and so on. And they just opened fire and killed them. And so that was another reason we were going to boycott. And they weren't letting Rwanda in, and South Africa compete. So
Apartheid.
yes, so because of all of that, the protests that took place overshadowed the 100 meters, because everyone talked about the fact that Tommy and John Carlos were had their medals stripped. They were removed from the village. So when the relay came, 2 days after that happened, it was still a buzz that they were kicked out, they were ostracized, they had death threats when they came back to the U.S. It was just so that is why a lot of people may not know Jim
It
Hines.
overshadowed. It was the news
Yeah,
cycle.
and he had the record for 15 years. So,
Yeah. So Calvin
it
Smith broke it.
yeah, so exactly. So
He had
that's why.
to. So who took his record?
Calvin Smith. Calvin
Mhm.
Smith broke his record 15 years later.
1983. Yeah,
Okay, so but now Hussein Bolt has the record.
Usain Bolt.
yeah, from Jamaica.
But
And
look at
and
the
what
times, though. Look at I mean, they're running meters instead of yards, but just look how the progression. You would think there would be a huge, like we'll be running 8s and 7s now, but that's how difficult it is to get people that run track know how difficult and technical and hard the 100 meters is. That's a very difficult race because
yeah,
it's so short, but everything has to be absolutely perfect to run times that they're running it at. The
yeah,
execution has to be perfect. There's no room for error because it's so short. So for him to have run that kind of time without the as technical as track is today, because you can't hardly convert now, where you have a lot of athletes back then that kind of converted NFL, Bullet Bob Hayes and people like that converted. They did track and then converted to football or vice versa or
yeah.
toggle
And
between the two. You can't do it now because track has gotten that technical that it doesn't even transfer. So
yeah,
DK Metcalf was a recent person that got exposed. He's like, oh, I can beat so and so. You can even make the finals. You can even make the semifinals. So yeah, track has gotten really technical. So for the way that track is now compared to what Hines did is amazing.
it's
Because he
amazing.
did not nearly have the type of training that we have access to today.
No doubt,
Wow.
no doubt. The shoes and the list
Right.
goes on and on.
I
Not
was
even as many track meets and so on and so
correct.
forth. So
Correct.
it just
Because they only
it speaks,
practice during the Olympiad most of the time.
yeah, it speaks to their determined spirit. That's
Yes.
epitomizes that. So
Okay, I don't have it. Let me make sure. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's so much technology. I didn't even get to the YouTube people. I'm just doing the Facebook people. That's all I can handle right now. So I'm not going to even try. We just gonna have to figure that out later when he comes back. But that's all. That's all the questions that I have. I'm gonna think. Any more questions you have, Keisha? Before I get ready to.
It's like track, that's just my thing. You know what I'm saying? That's my thing. But like I said, I really did read the books. So I told Dunya I wasn't doing it unless you give me some books. I'm not going to be on somebody's show and then I haven't even read their book. That I can't do that. So I actually, and it was a subject I liked, so it was an easy read because I enjoyed the subject matter. But yes, I actually have met John Carlos too, and he had, believe it or not, he says it really wasn't that planned out. Like, it's like they just said, well, we got to do something. You'd be like, oh, we got to do something. We got to do something. Well, let's just wear black gut. And they really did not expect, just like Colin Kaepernick, he just knelt and didn't expect, the whole world to break loose for something that he felt, just to say, I'm protesting how we are treated in America. But y'all send us down here to run for you, massa.
Yeah, one thing I will tell you about that story is that John Carlos, they were, like you said, they knew they were going to do something, but they each were given a set of gloves. But John left his, so that's why he has one and Tommy Smith has one.
Right.
Because he left his, or else they were going to put them on both fists. But yeah, so a lot of the team.
That's how you have well thought out it was that he didn't even bring his gloves with him. So that
but and then some of the other athletes, so that they could be part of the protest, they wore black socks. The women, wore black shorts. So they each, were committed to making a statement. So that's how it is.
Yeah, and sports is where we excel, and it's acceptable for them, the non-people of color. So for people, that's why most of the time you see rebellion or things to bring attention to, because that's the stage y'all put us on. That's the stage y'all allow us. So the stage that you allow us, then this is how we're going to bring attention to what you're doing. And so sports don't get the credit that it should for people like Muhammad Ali and people that have just said, look, I don't care how much money you give me. I don't care how great you think I am. These things are happening to my people, and it is not right for me. So we have to have those people in our days and our ages that do that type of stuff, because they said in the book that they said Jesse Owens is like, as a man, like, don't tell the Negroes to act right. We don't need all of this stuff. This is the Olympics. We need to be looking good at USA. And so they actually sent him to kind of be a buffer or to talk to them to say to not do that, because I'm sure they got women they was going to try to do something to protest it. So
yeah, no doubt. Well, it just comes back to that. Comes back to her.
Well, I want to thank you, ladies, so much. The green button is down there for the books, Athletes Beyond the Win and In Hindsight. And I want to thank everybody from tuning in from online to Crowdcast. I just really, truly appreciate you taking time out. This is going to be an amazing kickoff for Jet Relays. Yes. I'm excited,
Yeah.
I understand the power of sports, and that's why I always kind of marry anything like the Jet Relays. I always marry books with that because, it's a great platform. And let me tell you, some people are sitting there all day, and they are dedicated all day. I mean,
people really are. They pretty. We have to sit in the worst weather ever, the sun. The sun all day and get nice and crispy, but we do it for the sport. I
mean, and what better thing than to have books there? And so it was just an amazing people. Okay, I'm here for the next 4 hours, and let me have a book. And so it's just an amazing opportunity to promote books. I love it. But I want to say, KEISHA, when you get your book signed, I might put the Doc Bookshop sticker in KEISHA book because I think her book is going to go through the ages.
What book?
These books. These.
Oh yeah, I look.
I will
when I come to
California.
Look, when I come to California, I'm bringing my books with me when I come, so that I can get my autograph inside of the. So
hey, listen, you may see me at the Jet Relays.
March 12th.
I want to see you, and if we can find Jackie Joyner. I don't know where she at. I don't know where she at.
I can get you. She's my teammate. So I just talked to her on Friday, and so
she was your teammate.
She's my teammate. So I ran track with FloJo, Jackie Joyner, Jeanette Bolden, Alice Brown. The list goes on and on and on. Allison Felix. My coach is Bob Kersey.
Bob Kersey and coached everybody.
Yeah, he coached. Yeah,
that's why I said everybody was going to California to Bob Kersey. We don't know nowhere else. And then, now they just started to come this way with like Beverly Kearney and Carl Lewis and all of them down. And then before he got in trouble, John Drummond. But everybody was coming to Texas because it was the hotbed. So it was like a shift in years.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to get in there too. I've been doing the turkey trot. Does that count? Because I'm going to go.
That counts. Hey,
you moving. That's all you got to do is be moving.
Yeah. At 50, as long as I'm moving, huh?
Right. That's right.
I'm right behind you at 48, so I'm right behind you.
I try to get Jermaine Trotter to do some type of, what you call them layman type events, kickoff events where we maybe on a Thursday night we run a kind of couple of blocks and we get a little medal for running around the block or doing.
That's right. There you go.
The street games.
Yeah.
The street games. The street games. Well, March 12th, HBCU Jet Relays at the infamous Beverly D. Humphrey Stadium in Lancaster, Texas. First event starts at 9:00. We actually have youth running. So our youth program will run a few open events. And then the real parties pops off at HBCUs will run at 2:00. And I'm your meet director. I'll be humping that day. And I'm a fierce boss. You can ask Dunya. I don't play no games. My track meet runs well. I'm a woman in a man's space, so I have to be like that.
And that energy just flows off on me because I'm like, if KEISHA getting it right, I'm not gonna look bad out here in the bender circle. So I'm gonna have to whip people in gear, and I'll be up there right along with KEISHA early in the morning. I'm like early in the morning, but track people do early.
I love to get the information so we can, coordinate, get everything together, and so we will definitely be talking.
Okay.
So just send me the info, and we'll make sure, there's a
Yeah.
present.
Well, I
Oh,
appreciate
thank
it.
you
And I enjoyed
so
talking
much.
to you.
I am
Write
going to
another
actually
book.
close out with the video, but real quick, if they want to connect with you, you have a Facebook page or your group, Athletes Beyond the Wind,
Yeah,
right?
Athletes Beyond the Wind, and then email. They can email also. You want me to give you that?
Yeah, if you can, because
Yeah.
this is recorded.
So they can email adeobtw@gmail, which is our best teamwork. That's the name of the company. Um, they can also Emerson Track at Gmail, so we can be reached. Either of those places, definitely.
And Hallmark celebrating 35 years.
35 years. And,
What's the
I'm just 36. No, I'm just playing. So
Well, I'm 29 forever, so I hear you.
Hallmark Track on all social media, hallmarktrack.com on the website. I'm Keisha Brazil, so I'm on all social media as well. And I can be reached at trackstar1974 at yahoo.com or hallmarktrack@gmail.com or the Jet Relays on all social media platforms.
Okay.
okay? Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You guys, ladies, can go. I'm going to play this commercial again. And so
Hold
Thank
for
on.
you.
everybody,
Wait a minute. Before we do this, I'm new to this and I'm old. How do I get out of this? What do I do?
oh, I'll
Is there
just
an
exit.
end
I'll just
button?
close you. I'll close you out. How about that?
Okay.
I'll close both of y'all out.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Bless you.
All right. All
Okay.
right.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. You guys, you just heard from the Jet Relays. What's coming up in Jet Relays? I am about to play this video to close us out for this segment. Let's see if I can do this right, you guys.
Track and field event in the South. It's the fourth annual HBCU Jet Relay Soul Festival. Saturday, March 12th. All lanes lead to Humphrey Tiger Stadium in Lancaster, Texas. Come see Prairie View, Fremont, Southern, Langston, Jarvis Christian, Texas Southern, Commander Smith, Houston Tillison, and more. Right of the lanes at Tiger Stadium. Oh yeah, and we can't forget about the Lit Fest featuring the band and dance team showcase. Hosted by Peace Hill. And a special bandstand performance by the Jarvis Christian College Sophisticated Sounds of Soul. Oh, and don't stop the music. A special guest performance in tribute to Dallas's own Yarbrough and People. Calling all HBCU alumni, Greeks, and surrounding communities. We join it for the culture. Come out and experience great music, great food, a college health and career fair, and more. All hosted by comedian D. Ellis. Sponsored by TBMG, UBC, Hallmark, Doc Bookshop, The Prep Factory, GTMS, Crash McDonald's Restaurant, and Humana. JetRelays.com.
In case you missed it, I will play it for
Get
you.
ready for the largest track and field event in the South. It's the fourth annual HBCU Jet Relay Soul Festival. Saturday, March 12th. All lanes lead to Humphrey Tiger Stadium in Lancaster, Texas. Come see Prairie View, Fremont, Southern, Langston, Jarvis Christian, Texas Southern, Commander Smith, Houston Tillison, and more. Right of the lanes at Tiger Stadium. Oh yeah, and we can't forget about the Lit Fest featuring the band and dance team showcase. Hosted by Peace Hill. And a special bandstand performance by the Jarvis Christian College Sophisticated Sounds of Soul. Oh, and don't stop the music. A special guest performance in tribute to Dallas's own Yarbrough and People. Calling all HBCU alumni, Greeks, and surrounding communities. We join it for the culture. Come out and experience great music, great food, a college health and career fair, and more. All hosted by comedian D. Ellis. Sponsored by TBMG, UBC, Hallmark, Doc Bookshop, The Prep Factory, GTMS, Crash McDonald's Restaurant, and Humana. JetRelays.com.
I'd like to thank everybody that tuned in tonight as Jet Relays and Hallmark did their tribute to Black History Month via the conversation on Athletes Beyond the Wind and In Hindsight. We look forward to everybody, like Keisha Brazil said, we look forward to everybody at March 12th at the Jet Relays. For more information, please visit jetrelays.com. Or you can also, we still have vendor space available, so if you would like to participate as a vendor, please visit jetrelays.com, or you can contact us at 817-320-5562. That's 817-320-5562. Thank you for watching Jet Relays 2022 Tribute to Black History Month. Thank you.